Hello, welcome to just a little bit more Thrawn's Revenge. Last time we did lots of exploit battles using commandos with varying success. Mostly it worked. We took a load of random planets without really taking any losses. Doesn't really gain us anything, but we just did it for fun. There was a major space battle where a big fleet from Zinja's empire tried to attack us, but we had some serious defences in place and were able to take them down pretty easily actually in the end. Now we're going to do some rapid fire battles as we faced several space defences one after the other, and the similar factor between all of them is that the enemy are attacking places that we haven't defended. Here they've managed to actually get a fleet behind our front line. Not quite sure how they did that. We saw Pentastar doing that before. There's clearly something to this game that I'm unaware of. Anyway, what we've done is slap down one of the really expensive space stations that has tons of guns on it. So, when the enemy brings these little groups of a few capital ships, it's just not quite enough to overcome it. They can get the shields down sometimes, but they can't destroy it, especially with our fighters providing distractions. In this battle in particular, there were also some rogue forces who came up behind the enemy, and that was a great distraction as well. They didn't have many good units, but the enemy turned around and started shooting at them, making it extra easy for us to gun them down with the space station. Here we are a bit later after most stuff's been destroyed. Down goes that Executor. There's some tiny thing over there that was dodging half of our shots because it was too small. There we have it. The same thing then happened again slightly further north. This time it's a planet we've only held for a short time. However, in that short time I did build both a hypervelocity gun and one of the deadly space stations. I had a hypervelocity gun in that last battle, by the way. I just forgot to ever bother firing it, so that was good of me. We don't really need it anyway, since you can see we can just gun down ships using the things on the space station. In this case we can get one last shot to annihilate that victory glass. Very good. Another small enemy set of capital ships disposed of for no cost to us whatsoever. Now we've got some fighting going on over at our precious Mist. Looks like the enemy are pushing back in here, but once again I've already put one of these down. We're so rich we can build these really expensive space stations pretty much wherever we want. So I've got loads of them in all the key frontline locations, and I'm putting them down whenever I sneakily capture planets as well, so when the enemy comes back to retake them they just get annihilated as they did there. The same battle happened again immediately afterwards. They sent two small fleets to attack the transitory Mist. The second time though I'd completed the construction of another defensive platform just to make things even more cheeky. That other platform actually did take damage, but as long as it doesn't die, it doesn't matter. And these big enemy ships, including an Allegiance battlecruiser this time, are going right down. Looks like I'm struggling to target the Allegiance. There, it's half dead. There it goes. We got it in the end. And after all that, I decided to do another classic exploit battle because I came to the conclusion that this place, Dathomir, was the capital of Zinja's empire because Zinj is floating above it. I go down to attack the ground and there's actually an army here, so maybe this won't be so exploitative after all. We learn very quickly that the enemy have one of those rolly rocket boys who can far outrange our turrets. That's going to be an issue since we don't have anything else particularly able to bring them down. I've sent my infantry squad to go capture a communications tower so we can just take a look at what's going on. And what's going on is a load of vehicles are attacking this anti-vehicle turret. For some reason the turret wasn't firing back, but when I actually told it to fire back, it did. It seems that the turret actually has a longer range if you micro it versus its own AI, or something. Anyway, I had to move my squad back to our landing zone because they were getting annihilated, and they actually all died before they made it back. I should have taken them out of the take cover stance so they could run faster. Luckily I'd left one guy alive at the landing zone, so we don't lose, and we just put down another wave and keep going. We've still got a load more guys to get through. I hang around the initial starting point, but suddenly all my men are killed and I was like, whoa, 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 stop time. Someone's come in here with some sort of laser whip and is just annihilating everyone. It's got some sort of area effect damage, meaning the whole group can be killed instantly. That means we need to spread our men out, just like that time we fought the Sith Lord, and try not to die, and try to do a little bit of damage slowly but surely to this hero. Helping us out is the fact that she seemed interested in our anti-vehicle turret. Maybe she wanted to attack it, but the AI kept telling it not to because it's kind of zigzagging around next to it. And the whole time, she's getting gradually sniped down by our commandos. Their rifles don't do very much to hero units, but it does something over time. Another hero shows up, this time a stormtrooper hero. He's easier to kill, but he's doing more damage to us because he's actually shooting our men. where the whip hero is still just hanging around and generally getting shot, which is all good. Now she does a quick lap of the anti-vehicle turret and ends up running away for a little bit. Her health starting to get low. I thought maybe she was going to run off and heal, but she did shortly come back. This was an issue because I'd grouped all my men up after this, so we could all die in one hit. We need to stay away from that whip. Luckily, the commandos are pretty fast, and we can kind of outrun the whip. Its animation is too long for it to hit us once she starts doing it. We just run around in a circle then and get the turret to gradually kill our opponent. Would have played the Benny Hill theme again there, but we already did that in this series. Eventually she is out of health. She doesn't die per se, she just kind of stands there and agrees to not participate in the fight, I suppose. That's good for us. A couple of ATSTs and the like are still bothering our landing point, but we're not paying too much attention to that. I'm focusing my attention on this big boy because it can outrange our anti-vehicle turrets. The only way we can kill it is to run up to it and spam grenades while it's distracted. It only starts firing at us after we've thrown the grenades, and it doesn't fire its main gun very much. So we get away with it. The grenades kill it, we kill a walker there that was on the verge of death, and everything is now fine. The landing zone is clear and we can start moving into enemy territory. We've still got the Rolly Rocket Boy though. It was just doing donuts in the forest with the cool kids for whatever reason. And I found I couldn't really damage it very much with my sniper rifles, whereas it can damage us a lot with its quick area of effect attack, so I need to get out of there in this case. I'm going to quickly build a backed attack to restore my team's health, but the thing did eventually come over to attack us. I dodged that shot and then it drives on by. I was worried it would just shoot again, but it looks like it's going somewhere. It's driving into this little bit of enemy base. I thought, good, while it's distracted, I'll put down an anti-vehicle turret here. But then it fired at my squad and destroyed the turret instantly, so good work from the enemy. We keep dodging and managed to not get hit too much by the enemy's attacks. It looks like it drove through one of my guys there, so maybe it can't run me over, which is what I was very worried about. That's nice to see. And just about there, while it was hanging near us, I threw a couple of grenades at it. I actually thought I missed and didn't even check to see if the thing was destroyed, but shortly after it disappeared, so clearly it was destroyed by those grenades. Now, that was the only threatening thing left on the map. So we can go back to business. We gun down the enemy's infantry, clear out their bunkers, outrange everything that might otherwise threaten us, and we win. We lost 10 units of commandos, almost a Mega Mesa tank's worth of value, but the enemy lost a whole load of stuff. I don't think that was actually their capital, by the way. I can't remember if I saw their capital building and destroyed it. Doesn't really matter either way because it doesn't do very much. We've just done that for fun, and Zinja's empire is now pretty much dead. For reasons I don't remember, I took my commando fleet up to that Zinj planet at the top of the screen, and on the way discovered that the Bellator Star Destroyer, the thing that's a bit weaker than an Executor, another one of the big boys, was on its own, so I sent a space fleet to attack them. While it was on the way, I for some reason decided to attack this planet as well, and discovered there's an army on it, and also in space there's a hero who I've also got somehow. Now, whatever the enemy had here, I didn't see very much of it at first. My men were just running around and I thought, oh, it's probably nothing, until finally a hero killed all of my men by running them over. That big hero tank eventually made its way over to an anti-vehicle turret, as you might expect, and then things go a little bit better. And the same goes for what the enemy army turned out to be, which was a load of these TIE crawlers, I think they're called. They're like slow TIE maulers, and again, anti-vehicle turrets dealt with that situation. So we did take losses once again, but we've pointlessly taken another planet, which is nice, I suppose. Now for what I was really getting at, the attack on the Bellator. And if you don't like exploit battles, you're not going to like this, because the Bellator decided to just sit there. It wanted to stay near the space stations, which is a problem for it because I've got two of the Pentastar destroyers that outrange everything, so I can just sit here where I started and gradually damage the enemy Star Destroyer without risking any of my ships against all of those big guns. It only takes one hit to take out a hard point with the Peltas, so we just one by one blow them up. This continued on for some time, but once I'd killed like 2/3 to 3/4 of them, I was like, you know what, this is just silly. I'm sending in the whole fleet to fight with what remains of the guns, just so that we can pretend something happened. And the enemy actually did start firing at one of my frigates near the top of the screen there, and it looked like it could be in danger. However, we were destroying what remained of the enemy's guns sufficiently quickly to stop that frigate from going down. The Bellator disappears in a puff of smoke, and all that remains is to attack the enemy's space stations. No problems there. Presumably they can't rebuild that thing, and presumably they only have one, so we've probably struck a big blow to those guys. Good that they didn't use it against us at any point, because that could have been dangerous. Sitting on its own, doing absolutely nothing, it's no more than an ornament. For no particular reason, I'm going to take the ground here. All we need to do is send in the Mega Mazes. They did have some AT-ATs, but when you've sent in the Mega Mazes, it doesn't matter what they have, unless it's that one General Veer's AT-AT that has tons of health and can kill Mega Maze tanks, but it wasn't. I was about to move back to the left to redefend our original position, but the enemy attacked it very rudely just as I was considering going there. Obviously that doesn't go very well for them, because our space stations are still here, and on their own they can hold off a small group of capital ships. They actually got away with their big interdictor there as well. Now, for reasons I forget, I decided to attack this place over to the right. I'm guessing I was hero hunting. I could see there was a hut hero down on the surface. In space it also looked like they had a big fleet, but disappointingly it was another case where it's a big fleet of barely visible things like these Nebulon Bs that just get annihilated in all of those explosions, and nothing else happens. On the surface, the enemy had tons and tons of infantry defending, which wasn't really a problem, since while our tanks aren't very good against infantry in theory, they can sort of run them over. Our small tanks can anyway. The Mega Mazes can't for some reason, but the small tanks kind of have a force field in front of them. When they get near infantry, the infantry just die, even if you don't run them over. Not quite sure what's up with that. Here was an example of tanks' inaccuracy against turrets, which we've seen before in this series. We're going absolutely wild trying to take down that random anti-infantry turret, and it's just not happening. The odd hit is actually going in. It's slowly losing health to the green lasers from the smaller tanks, but yes, the Mega Mazes just couldn't do it. We win. The enemy hero was just a building in the end, so nothing too exciting there. And now we've got another planet. Isn't that nice for us? Right after that, we were finally attacked on the ground. I hinted that this would happen. The enemy have put together a ground army to go and try to retake one of these random places that I'm just holding for no reason. On the ground, I've already built a factory that has put together a couple of Mega Mazes and some normal tanks, so we've got something to use here, plus our garrison units, and all the turrets actually as well. It turns out that the maps retain the knowledge of what turrets you've already put down, so the turrets left over from our attack here are now able to help us in the defense. I didn't realize it would work like that. It's like in Dawn of War. Very nice. Now, the enemy aren't making a very good attack, I must say. All they've done is deploy 2 flying transport things from Attack of the Clones. The Mega Mazes can shoot aerial targets, so we quickly destroy them both. And then the battle's over. How disappointing. They didn't actually deploy any of their units. I don't know if they saw that I had all the turrets and the AI just thought no. I'm not sure if it's that sophisticated. Maybe it just forgot to deploy their units. No idea what was going on there. After that though, we had another chance for a potentially interesting defense. We're being attacked back at Dathomir. This time we don't have Mega Mazes or anything to defend, just a load of Phalanx Commandos. Actually, I do have one Mega Mazer because there's a garrison one from a factory, but it didn't see any action. Here was where all the action took place in this fight. The enemy had tons and tons of this elite Raptor infantry, I think it's called, and they're just running at this anti-infantry turret and being absolutely annihilated. Unit after unit comes in, and a huge pile of bodies is formed as we just gun them down, or fire them down, I suppose it is. Finally, a hero comes in and starts using the Force to destroy the turret, but the AI thinks, you know what, this has already gone pretty badly, let's just get out of here. So it's simultaneously good and bad AI. It doesn't know how to make an attack, but it knows when it's been beaten, and that's also quite important. So there we go. Another potentially disappointing, but at least slightly interesting ground defense. Soon after that, we faced a real space battle. Looks like Greater Maldrude are trying to break through here at Bandemir. We don't have any gigantic space stations this time, so it's a straight up old school brawl. We did have a hypervelocity gun, so that will help us out. Otherwise, just 2 blobs of ships going at each other. We had the better formation to start with, since the enemy sort of came in a single file line. We could focus down a couple of their leading ships, but other ones started going around to our left flank. You can see them starting it here. You'll also notice their fleet composition. It's loads of capital ships. It's my style of fleet composition. No small units being spammed about here. They're coming at us with the big guns. When they outflanked us, they got both of my Pentastar Star Destroyers in a weak position, and unfortunately they're going to kill one of them here. I probably could have saved it by emergency jumping earlier, but I didn't. I will eventually emergency jump the other one so it doesn't die. But yes, our formation got very much outflanked, and it's been forcibly split down the middle as well by that Executor. Since the enemy are spamming capital ships, there's actually a risk in this battle, because spam capital ships versus spam capital ships kind of cancels each other out tactically, so if we're going to be destroying them, they may also be destroying us. And indeed, many of my smaller ships, or all of my smaller ships, get taken out by the enemy's capitals, and then they slowly work their way up the chain. The chaff start going down. We've got an Ascendancy Star Destroyer that's lost its shields and enough hull that it's probably going to go down as well. There's no engine power to escape from this situation. And while we are taking out the enemy capital ships just as well, it's just a shame to lose units because you have to click buttons to get them back and the AI doesn't. So here we are sometime later. You can see we've lost kind of everything except a few capital ships. That's all we need to win the rest of the fight, but it is a shame that things got so scrappy and went so poorly. I think I was watching TV while playing, to be fair on myself. The enemy also have fighter advantage here. They've got fighters and bombers all over the place, and we've run out of things that can combat them, so we just have to take the punishment, which kind of adds like a soft time limit to the battle, because you need to take out all the enemy capitals before their fighters kill your capitals. And once we do that, the fighters retreat and we win, but it's a nasty loss sheet for us. Only one Pentastar Star Destroyer is actually an escapee. Everything else went down, including 3 Star Destroyers. We got like 8 of their Star Destroyers, so it is a victory overall. But as I said, it's annoying because now I have to go and rebuild the ships, in theory anyway. I'm not sure if I actually bothered to remake this fleet because I was winding the campaign down at this point. Now we're going to see a series of battles at Findar. The enemy kept trying to do this thing where they go for a ground attack but only attack with like 2 units and then just see if they can somehow win with those guys. So here it's some tanks going for it. They need to get past these turrets. The first wave has failed, but the second wave coming in is able to take out the anti-vehicle turret and push on. However, when they reach the next set of anti-vehicle turrets and my tanks, they can't get by. Then they've got 1 squad of infantry wandering around. They get killed by a turret, and we win. So yes, they didn't put any more units down, just like before. Here we are on a different day, when they tried again. This time they're more serious. They brought some AT-ATs. This might actually work, because they can bring down the turrets from long range. But I'm able to spam Mega Mazers, and AT-ATs do not stand a chance. The last one tries to turn and run for it, but they're way too slow, even slower than Mega Mazers. So that's the end of that battle, another win. In between these fights, by the way, this keeps happening all over the galaxy. Like random groups of 3 or 4 ships attacking our frontline positions, mostly just attacking space stations and doing nothing really. So we're winning all those battles for no losses. There, looks like it was the Mists we were defending. Now back to what's important, Findar. They came at us again this time with loads of pirate skiffs. They're really experimenting with different tactics, the enemy right here. They've actually got loads of them, so they could overwhelm us, but we are starting to arrive now with our Mega Mazers from the base, so they didn't, long story short. Now, I wanted to do something conclusive to end the campaign. And pretty much the only difficult thing available to me was to try this again, try and take the Pentastar planet that has already repelled us many times, using the same exploit army, of course. This time I tried putting my commandos in this bunker near where the enemy spawned. From there I was actually in range of the enemy Sith guy and could start killing him. However, I could only see him when the enemy was firing at me, and because they were firing at me, the bunker went down pretty quickly and we had to run. This drew the enemy army back to our landing zone, and we saw something similar to our previous attempts, where the fact we only have 2 turrets means we can't hold off all this enemy stuff. In this case, I was trying to focus down the AT-AT, thinking if I kill this guy I will have made some progress at least, but I should have been attacking the other thing, the small AT-AT on the right, because that one is an actual unit, whereas the AT-AT is a free-spawned garrison unit from the enemy's heavy factory, meaning while we did take it out, we didn't actually do the permanent damage I thought I was doing. We eventually lost after our turrets went down and our commandos couldn't do anything. Did take out a squad of tanks, so technically we've made some progress there. That's something. Now, a quick aside to see what's going on at Findar. This time, the enemy made a decent attack. They brought loads of artillery. That can actually stop my tank advance in theory. They blow up 5 of my tanks before I finish off the artillery. If only they had loads and loads of those, they might have actually stopped us in our tracks entirely. But they didn't deploy anything else, and we won. Now I've actually lost a unit. I'm going to have to go to the effort of going down to the bottom here and clicking on the button to get it back. So that's annoying. Now, all this time I've been building up for another potential conclusive battle, but it's going to be something a little bit different to what I thought it was going to be. What I wanted to do is make an army, or a fleet, sorry, that is mostly just fighters, to do something similar to the carrier spam to bring down the Executor over here in Duscan space. It's the same idea, but instead of spamming carriers, we spam actual fighters and bombers, picking where to bring them in using the reinforcement menu, and just micro our cloud to try and get through all of the enemy's capital ships, and then finally the Executor. We are going to be starting with the regular Imperial Star Destroyers, since they're easier targets, and our hypervelocity gun can weaken them quite a lot more than it can weaken an Executor, so we might make some actual progress this way. I made it to my first target and jumped in a load of bombers behind it, ready to attack, but then it said I've been defeated. I thought, what? And it turns out that fighters aren't considered a unit, even if they're built as an individual unit on the campaign map. So you lose if everything that's above fighter class is destroyed. We had a couple of corvettes somewhere, they died, and that's why we lost. I was just like, I really thought that plan would work and would go somewhere. You could potentially try it again by trying to hide a corvette in the corner or something, but I couldn't be bothered. I wanted to come back to the Pentastar situation, but I thought there's just no way we can win this battle. What can I possibly do? And as I was looking at the planet, something seemed to be going on. Zinja's empire destroyed the Pentastar fleet in space. Then it looked like a load of Pentastar fleets were moving to my planet just to the south there. I wasn't quite sure what was happening until I realised that, wait a minute, what this is supposed to be is Zinja's army is making ground attacks on the planet and is blowing up the buildings and units. So now if I suddenly attack, it's going to be much easier. This time there's only one building and one unit. That's the Sith guy. They've got these walkers that spawned from said one building, but they died once they encountered my turret. But I still hadn't seen the Sith guy. I'd walked over most of the map, setting turrets down everywhere, but for whatever reason he wasn't showing up. And the answer is revealed in what my men are trying to shoot right here. There's a bunch of civilians all on the left side of the map coming down this causeway, and following the trail back to where they're coming from reveals what's going on. The Sith Lord is just hacking his way through endless waves of civilians. Guys are just running out of their apartment, picking up handguns and going after this guy, and he is cutting them all down. He also cuts down my men after we discovered the scene, then he quickly goes back to his work. That's going to last a while, and he's slowly dying. If he doesn't ever destroy the buildings, which it looks like he's not going to because he's so swamped, then he will actually be killed by the endless onslaught of civilians. I think they do respawn infinitely. I came to try and kite him away because what I want is to bring him towards one of my turrets so that I can kill him. But it wasn't that easy. He was very interested in killing the civilians. Plus, the civilians want to kill me, so I can't get too close to this guy to try and kite him, otherwise my commandos will just get shot. Meaning, I did lose quite a lot of men trying to get this guy's attention. Eventually it looked like I had him here. He followed me all the way up that causeway, almost to where my turrets were, but then no, he went back, killing more and more civilians on the way. Almost had him there. However, then he starts following some civilians towards us in his desire to kill them. He gets close to our men, and that apparently kites him onto them, so now we can draw him over here. While he does annihilate my troops, he is now near my turrets. Apparently near enough to aggro onto them. That's what we like to see. For whatever reason, after we deplete his health down to basically nothing, it stops going down. It looked like maybe he could take the turrets out, maybe he was invincible or something. I'm guessing he has some ability where he dodges stuff when he's at really low health or something, since After a while he died, he just didn't die immediately, not sure what's going on. I say died, he's just standing there with his health gone, like the last Sith person we tried to kill. But in theory, that's sorted out now. Now I just need to plant a few charges on their one building, and business is done. Finally, the Pentastar alignment have actually been defeated. Our first enemy shall be our last, so there is something conclusive and climactic about that eventual battle. Looks like they've still actually got a corvette, so the faction isn't quite dead, but I can't be bothered to deal with that. Anyway, so yes, we are going to be ending the campaign at this point. Probably could conquer the rest of the galaxy, but it would be rather boring. I thought I'd take a look at the stats here. It's got stats on how much of the galaxy's military that you control and your income and stuff. And I noticed that for some reason the Empire and the New Republic have some military and both have a planet each somewhere, which was highly suspicious since I thought they were dead and didn't see them anywhere. I was also wondering whether the military percentage numbers actually added up to 100%. I'm pretty bad at arithmetic and I can't be bothered to check the footage here. But anyway, I was suspect of that, which is why I'm scrolling up and down going, what's going on here? So I was curious about that idea of the New Republic and Empire having planets, and after a while I discovered what's up with that. At the bottom of the screen there, you can see some secret planets. There are 3 secret planets, as it turns out. The Empire have one, New Republic have one, and we have one. And I was lucky enough for the cinematic camera to actually show me one over here. It just shows you planets at random, and it happened to randomly pick one of the secret ones. So yes, they're just far out of the galaxy in the void. That's where the Empire and the New Republic are still living, and maybe that's where the Era 5 Imperial leader, who we never saw, ended up. He's out there somewhere, in some place which is inaccessible. That's a shame. My investigation into this matter was interrupted by another battle at Findar. This time they were spamming a load of infantry. My Mega Maces had a really hard time attacking this anti-aircraft turret, had to give up in the end because it just wasn't happening. At least we won the battle. Anyway, after that, I decided to check another menu. It's this one, the other menu that's not the stats one, the one with the era progression in it in fact, and I decided to click on this last tab that I'd never looked at. It's a list of planets and it shows you what upgrades you have. It seems that upgrades are actually persistent, like the upgrades you can get from your barracks to avoid weather conditions and stuff. So that's nice. But while I was scrolling down the list I realised, wait a minute, missing is in our list because we control it. And we can actually use that to bring the camera over to take a look at missing. There it is. Now we can put an army on missing. I'm guessing that's why the New Republic and Empire still have some of the galaxy's military strength. The AIs put units out on those void planets, and we're going to do the same. So there you have it. Looks like whatever happens to the galaxy, we've got our secret plan out here in the really, really unknown region, ready to make a comeback at any time. I spent quite a while actually looking around. Since the camera's out here, I thought maybe I could see the other missing planets nearby. But I don't think they actually are nearby because I never found them. It's possible that they're on a different Z level, so like they're above the camera or something, since all of this stuff's not meant to be seen. But whatever. So anyway, yes, this is at last the end of Thrawn's revenge. He's been dead for a while, but hopefully he agrees his revenge has been had. Coming up next to replace this in my set of abridged campaigns will be the thing that was a narrow second to Thrawn's revenge when there was a vote on what abridged campaigns I should do a couple of months ago, and that is the Rise of Three Kingdoms mod for Medieval 2 Total War. Something particularly relevant since at some point next year we're supposed to be seeing an actual Three Kingdoms game, so time to get the next best thing fresh in our memories. I think I'll be playing as Lu Bu. I haven't really looked into it yet, but I know Lu Bu starts not very big, so it's a relatively difficult start, and in the middle of all the other major factions, so things get started right away and we can expect a interesting campaign that isn't just me taking all the rebel settlements around the edge of the map to get powerful before actually doing anything or anything like that, which many of the other factions can do to make yourself guaranteed to win later on. Anyway, so I hope you'll join me for that. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining me for Thrawn's Revenge. Seems like it was a little bit overpowered to play as Thrawn's own faction. I think Mega Mazer tanks could do with being 10 times more expensive or immobile or something. Or at least the AI could try a little bit harder to stop you. We were only really invaded once during our big rush right at the start, and then I was only invaded later on because I couldn't be bothered to invade the enemy. So yes, the AI should try a little bit harder. I know it's got fleets out there because I saw them with my commandos. They just don't do anything with them the majority of the time. Maybe I should come back playing on hard difficulty with no Mega Mazer tank challenge run rules or something to see how that goes. Maybe in the future. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.